Can dolls be possessed or haunted? Welcome back, and of course, if you're new to this channel, welcome. My name is Tracy, and in this video, we are going to explore the idea of haunted or possessed dolls. So stay tuned. As I was growing up, I had characters in my life such as Chucky, which is a haunted doll who is possessed by like an evil spirit. And so that's the kind of thing that I had in my imagination in my childhood. So when I was younger, I used to stay the night over at my friend Jackie's house all the time. And Jackie had a really, really big house with a whole bunch of rooms. And one of their spare bedrooms was downstairs in the basement. And that room had a bed and a dresser and a whole bunch of porcelain dolls staring at me every single time I went into that room. I don't know why, but for some reason, that room in my friend Jackie's house creeped me out so much. But it could have something to do with the fact that, like I said, I'm from the generation of Child's Play and the character of Chucky, the haunted doll. But that's could be my imagination, of course. I never had any actual real experience with the dolls in Jackie's house being haunted. But I do remember having a very, very creeped out feeling every time I went into that room with the dolls. In my opinion, I do believe that dolls can be possessed or haunted. So in the movie Child's Play, Chucky is actually just a fictional character of a haunted doll. Now, there are other movies that were made based on real life haunted dolls, such as the movie Annabelle and the movie The Conjuring, which feature the doll Annabelle, who is possessed by evil demons. So in these movies, Annabelle obviously is kind of a different looking doll, kind of for the Hollywood factor. But the real Annabelle is actually nothing more than a Raggedy Ann doll who is possessed by a demon. Right now, Annabelle actually lives in Ed and Lorraine Warren's Occult Museum in Connecticut. I don't believe that there are any tours available of this museum due to like zoning or something like that. But all of the I guess you could say all of the paranormal artifacts that Ed and Lorraine have collected throughout their lifetime together actually have a home in the Warrens Occult Museum in Connecticut. So that is where Annabelle lives. She is behind a glass case in a box. And she has crucifixes around her. And warning signs, and she is not to be let out of her casing, I would assume, because it's so dangerous. But the real story of Annabelle takes place in the 1970s, where the real Annabelle doll was actually terrorizing a group of teenagers in the 70s. So when Ed and Lorraine Warren went during one of their ghost investigations to investigate the doll and the hauntings around it, that is when they obtained the doll and now have it in their museum. So Annabelle is a very popular haunted doll who I believe might actually be haunted as well. Let's see. Now, there are other cases of haunted dolls in the world even as we speak. So let's take a look at some other haunted dolls. The Island of the Dolls is so creepy to me. There is a little story behind the Island of the Dolls, located in Mexico on Lake, I'm not real sure how to say it, Lake Tishilo, or hold on. Yeah, Tishulio Lake. I'm so sorry. I'll put the word on the screen. But anyway, on this island, there lived a man named Don Julian Santana Barrera. He had sequestered himself to live alone on the island sometime in the mid-20th century. During his time there alone on the island, Santana Barrera actually stated that he found a girl who was drowned and had been washed up from one of the canals. And this dead girl also had a doll who had washed up along with her. And since that time, Santana Barrera decided to hang that doll from one of the many trees on the island to honor the spirit of the little girl that he had found who drowned in the canal. And so, for the next 50 years, Santana Barrera actually collected dolls from trash cans and dumpsters, from the canal, and just anywhere he could acquire a doll, and he would then bring the doll back to his island to hang on the trees. And it didn't even matter if the dolls had all of their body parts, if they had a head or a body or anything. So it's actually very creepy because all over the island, hanging from all of the many trees, there are hundreds of dolls and doll parts just hanging and decaying. Based on the fact that he decided to sequester himself alone on an island for all of these years away from his wife and family, and also based on the fact that nobody really believed that he found that drowned girl in the canal, they all just simply believed that he was mentally ill. And therefore, they didn't really believe his stories. They just believed that, he's just not of sound mind, and so therefore he was hanging these creepy dolls everywhere. Well, fast forward to 2001, when Don Julian Santana Barrera died. And ironically, he died in the canal, drowned, and he was found face down in the exact same spot that he claimed to have found the drowned girl all those years before. So now, even to this day, tourists come to the Island of the Dolls, and they bring along dolls and to leave on the island as well. And some people even claim that they have been haunted on the Island of the Dolls. And so they actually have been there, like Ghost Adventures have been there and done an episode at the Island of the Dolls. And during that episode, they actually did catch some footage of dolls lighting up or talking when no one was around to make them or prompt them to begin doing those things. And just a lot of creepy stories kind of surround this doll island. Some people even claim that the island is possessed or that there is a curse on the doll island. So anyway, there are so many different stories surrounding this creepy doll island. And so I would like for you guys to just let me know what you think. Do you think that the island is cursed? Do you think that it's haunted by the spirit of this drowned girl who is now embodying all of these dolls? Let me know in the comments down below. And now let's move on to one more case of not necessarily haunted dolls, so to speak, but a whole nother type of doll that is also worth noting in this Haunted Dolls episode. Voodoo dolls, as we know them today, were not necessarily originated in Haiti or Louisiana, where voodoo or voodoo were actually kind of originating in the African communities there. But voodoo and voodoo are a little bit of kind of where faiths were intermingling, so practices within both African as well as Christian practices and traditions were kind of intermingled at that time. But popular culture kind of make us associate the voodoo doll with only voodoo, but that is not the only case in history where these type of dolls have been used. And they've also been used in places all over the world. So the idea of the voodoo doll is that it is like an effigy of a specific person, and then the person who has control of the voodoo doll uses pins to push into the doll, hoping to inflict physical pain on the person. Sometimes it's with the hopes to put a curse or a blessing on them. So it really just depends on how the practitioner is using the voodoo doll or that little effigy. So it was actually way back in Britain, so back in Europe, back in the day when they were like burning witches and everyone was on trial for witchcraft. It was then that people actually made a witch out of cloth and then tried to use the pin to poke into the rag, the witch made out of the rag, hoping to release them from their witchcraft or their witchy ways. So it's kind of ironic to me that if that's true, that they were actually kind of using witchcraft to ward off witchcraft. So whatever. People in history are so funny. But anyway, voodoo dolls are actually not only used for, bad purposes. It's not always with bad intentions that people do things. You can also use something similar to a voodoo doll for good purposes. Just like anything, you have the choice between white magic or black magic. You just have to understand the consequences of your choices. But anyway, I do believe that voodoo dolls and, things like a voodoo doll are actually possible because, like I always tell you guys, even look back in older videos, I always say that you should set an intention and give it attention. So a voodoo doll is really just a zoned in and focused way of doing that. So the doll is like your intention, and then the pins could be like giving it attention. So anyway, I do believe that with that, with a very strong desire and intention, and if you kind of know how to use those intentions wisely, then yes, I do believe that a voodoo doll is something that could be used and it could actually work. Now I kind of want to introduce you to my little elephant. Now, anyone who knows me very closely knows my elephant. This is my Reiki Proxy, and it has been since the day I was attuned to Reiki. So, I was supposed to bring a doll to the Reiki class, and the only parameters they gave for this doll is that it has to have a head, a body, arms, and legs. So this has become my Reiki Proxy. Now, a Reiki Proxy, I do believe, might work similar to a voodoo doll in similar ways. It's only for the use of good, obviously, and to share light and love. But with the Reiki Proxy, you use specific symbols that are to push the energy to specific objects, people, places, and things. And even the symbol can even work to make the Reiki travel through time and space. So anyway, you use specific symbols to turn this elephant into whoever you want to receive the Reiki energy. So it is then called a proxy. So if I want to give my husband Neil Reiki, I would use the symbol, which I won't be showing on this video, but you use the symbol and you say certain prayers and stuff, and you get the energy of Neil to be a part of this elephant. So then any place on the elephant where I'm giving Reiki will then actually be received by my husband Neil. So let me know what you guys think about voodoo dolls and about just any type of effigy or proxy like what I showed you with the Reiki elephant. Let me know your thoughts down below, but be nice. You don't have to believe everything that I believe, but you also don't have to be mean about it. So anyway, let me know in the comments down below your thoughts. And that's all for this video today, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me on this Halloween spooktacular adventure. I'm having so much fun just talking about all of these things with you guys. So I am so excited to see you next time. Bye.